Hi, I'm Bernard Sheridan. I'd like to welcome you to our video portion of our podcast, Breaking Par with Bernard Sheridan. And this week's guest is Ralph Landrum, who has been awarded the 2014 Player Development Award by the PGA. So we're very honored to have Ralph with us here today, especially since it's Masters Week. And he is a master teaching professional that hails from Kentucky. So I'm sure you're going to enjoy this interview very much. So sit back, relax, and watch our interview with Ralph Landrum. So Ralph, welcome to Breaking Par. Thanks for being with us.
Very nice of you.
Oh, it's very nice of you to be with us. We really appreciate it. So congratulations on your 2014 achievement in player development. That's quite an achievement.
You know what? I was tickled to death because it's nice, especially nice to win awards for doing your job. But winning that National Player Development Award from the PGA was that was very nice of them to think of me and obviously pass the award on. But I will tell you, it's a team effort. It takes a whole staff to get something like that done. So, you know, it was an honor for my entire staff here at our facility.
So when you got that award, I saw that you went down to, I guess, to the PGA show, and then is that where they presented it to you at this year?
No, they did it up in Indianapolis at the National PGA meeting, and that was in November, early November.
Nice.
It was nice.
Yeah, that's a great honor. So it shows that a lot of hard work and effort and caring about your players and things like that. Eventually, recognition from the national level is going to happen. So big part of the reason why we wanted to have you on the show here was because of your expertise and your vast knowledge that you have in the game. So of course this is a golf instruction podcast. So we have all different types of listeners. We have listeners who are amateur players, recreational golfers, and we have listeners who are young professionals who are up and coming, who want to learn from the experience of seasoned professionals like yourself. So it's great that we're able to do that. So give us a little bit of insight as to how long you've been teaching, and then also what is the bulk of the players that you're working with?
I've been teaching for a long time. I'm an old guy. But, you know, I played the tour in the early 80s. I played at the University of Kentucky. Took a couple, 3 years to get out, on tour like everybody else. So it actually took about 5 years. And I was lucky because I played at I got to play in the Masters when I was as an amateur, and I did as a professional also. But then I was down playing all these club pro things, and I've been exposed to just about the who's who of the golf instructors from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So that kind of always interested me. It still does. And then to throw in a little bit of curve on it, I'm from Kentucky, so I'm a basketball guy, and I coached a lot of AAU basketball. So to help the kids I was coaching more, I went to a Bobby Knight's coaching clinic, Bobby Huggins when he was at UC, and Tubby Smith when he was at UK. And I noticed, I don't know exactly, I went to one of those each year. So the kids I'm teaching are grade school kids. And I'm watching how these guys teach. And when they start out basketball players, they run a three-man weave. They do a bunny line. They do all this basic stuff at the highest level that you're teaching kids on a third grade. And so the way I try to teach golf, and especially for myself, my own experience, when I was a player, I'd be going, whether it was Jimmy Ballard, Jimmy Flick, Jimmy McLean, Doc Suddy I spent a lot of time with. Mm-hmm. Mike Perkovich, I think, is a wonderful instructor down there in Atlanta. And, a whole bunch of guys like that. That's just touching the surface. And they kept it really simple. You got the club pretty much pointed and on plane, get you a decent setup, and worked on your balance a little bit. they kept it really simple, just like these basketball coaches did. And so the way I try to teach, and most of the players, we do a great deal of beginners work. Novices getting started, high school girls. We do an unbelievable amount. I'll have 200 young ladies in my LPGA girls program this year. So we try to really keep it really simple, which I find really interesting because I think that's what the best players in the world do, who are being taught by the best players in the world now. I especially with all this internet stuff we've got going on, and you need to learn all that. I mean, I've got a flight scope, and we've got the pressure pads, the stuff, and we've got Sam Putt Lab, so we've got all that stuff, and it really, what that does, that gives you information and credibility to what you're teaching. But we keep it as simple as we can. We keep it as simple as we can. I don't know, and I think sometimes we overcomplicate it and confuse the student, and they kind of lose their way that way. So we try to keep it as simple as we can.
So when you're using technology, that
Mm-hmm.
gives you the information kind of, right? But when you transfer that technology to the student, how much of that information do you actually give them? Does it depend on the student? And do you try to transfer it more into like a feeling or because I know that for most of my players, they feel things better than they do look at technical type things. So I try to take that technical kind of stuff and try to make it say, hey, if you're here, what's that feel like? And then if you're here, what does that feel like?
Well, first off, everybody learns differently. Some are artists, some are mechanicals, type people.
Yeah.
That's why you take Seve Ballesteros. I was lucky to play with him a couple times. The most beautiful golfer in the world I've ever seen, period. Not physically, but when he played golf, it was magnificent. And then all of a sudden he got technical and couldn't play a lick. So everybody learns different, and so, but most of them, like I had a few lessons already this morning, and most of the people get too steep and get over the top, and I said, okay, give them little tricks and drills. We're going to swing more to the right, and they go, okay, I'm swinging way to the right, and I go, I don't want to hurt your feelings, but you're really not. Let's go over there and get on our flight scope, and they'll go, wow. I'll go, yeah. So then all of a sudden that feedback becomes more real to them, becomes more, it's got more validity to it. So I think it really speeds up the process because you can work with somebody, and if they think they're swinging, a positive 2 degrees or whatever out to the right and they're 5 to the left, they can't tell the difference. Once they get that, they go, okay, and that's just, they're going to buy into it more, I think, and improve a little faster.
Sure. So you're using that as a positive reinforcement then, in that matter, where they're seeing that what they're doing is not creating what they think they're doing, and when you're telling them that they're not doing it, it's kind of hard for them because they can't see it. But then those numbers were maybe a path that's showing on the flight scope, things like that. And then also the numbers of so many degrees out to in or into out. Now that's more of a solid information that they can say, yeah, okay, I understand now.
You use the word solid. I would use it's got more credibility. It feeds to them more. But even a step further than that, I basically will use clubhead speed, angle of attack, and path. Some people say you do the face first. Some people do the path. I always tell everybody you get the path right. The good Lord's eye-hand coordination will help you square it up from there. And I too truly believe in that. Some people need a push start, but for instance, I had a very nice lady in today. It's the first time I'd seen her. She's shooting 100, and I'm guessing this lady's 60-ish. Okay, give her a few years. And she said, I don't hit the ball far enough, which like we ever haven't heard that. That's everybody that comes to see you.
Yeah.
So we go over there, and she takes one swing, and she swings this 7-iron at 76.8 miles an hour. And I asked her, I said, well, here's the guys, PGA Tour at 90, the ladies are at 76, the ladies can shoot 10 under par, and they're playing longer golf courses, blah, blah, blah. I said, what do you think you swing? She said, oh, I don't know, probably 57 or 58. I go, nah, you're swinging just as fast as these young, so you got plenty of speed. And it's like, wow, okay, and that elevates their confidence. And we know that, if they've got confidence, that they're going to perform better. And, I heard something, one of the young men on the Golf Channel was a sports psychologist. He was talking about Tiger about a month ago, and I've used this line probably 100 times since, is that confidence comes from certainty. And if this lady, I tell the lady, oh, you swing fast enough, she's going, yeah, right, sure, whatever. But then when I get it on there and she sees, for a matter of fact, she's swinging at the same speed at the Open, she's going, wow, maybe I can do this better than I thought. And maybe that will encourage her to play more.
Sure. So again, technology's positive reinforcement in the right direction can really be very valuable to the student and into the learning process.
Exactly.
So when you were playing on tour, what made you decide to move into instruction and helping other students?
Lack of ability.
Okay.
They sent me home, let's see. The first year I played, I finished like 102nd on the money list. The next year I finished like 80th. And then my third year I was like 152. And, getting a family started. And back there obviously wasn't anywhere near the money there is now.
Sure.
And we didn't have that second tour. The Ben Hogan tour just started. But, I think there was 10 or 12 events or something. And so, I had to come back home and get a job, and actually, my last year I played on tour was in '85, but actually the best I ever played was in '87. I won every tournament in Kentucky, made the cut in U.S. Open, finished like, I don't know, 40th or something. But what sent me home was lack of ability. Dean Beeman didn't like me enough, I guess, was what I should say, but. And this is something I enjoy. This is what I do. Golf is what I've always done, and hopefully will continue to do.
Now, as for player development, and you won this award, what do you think led to that? Other than, you did mention you have quite a team behind you, but I would think that you have a lot of students that you're teaching if you're making headway in development of players, and give us some insight on that. What's your I don't want to say what's your secret to that, but like how many lessons are you doing on average, and are you doing more individual stuff? Are you doing more group type things?
Well, a couple things. Give you a little kind of segue into it. Back when I was playing for UK, we started a junior program here at World of Golf. I worked here. I live close to here. This is where I grew up, so I've been very blessed to stay home. But we started a junior program with 4 or 5 kids from the employees, and that thing's grown to over 500 kids. So I knew the value of that business. There's some revenue to be made there. And then I was really lucky. We were named by, I don't know, Golf Digest or one of the, who was from the World Golf Foundation. We were named one of the top 100 places to learn to play golf, or I'm not even sure exactly what the title was. This was 7, 8 years ago. So I went to a luncheon they had at the PGA Merchandise Show, and they started talking about being hip on golf, have interest in playing. And I was sitting next to this man, and a lady by the name of Kathy Harbin is one of the sharpest gals. She was in charge of that 2020 as far as player development. I think she's with one of the big management companies now. And she was at the table, and this guy reached over and elbows me. He said, "Hey, I did all the research." He pulled out his laptop and said, "What's your zip code?" I gave him his zip code, and he said, "You've got 38,000 people who are hip on golf within 10 miles of where your facility."
Wow.
I said, well, "You got to be kidding me." He said, "No, there's 38,000. So I'm telling you, as soon as I got back, I went. I have a management contract to manage this for the city of Florence, Kentucky, and say, hey, we got to change our business plan. We need to keep hustling. We've got an executive golf course here, the driving range. We need to keep doing that. But quite frankly, here's where the growth in the game is. There's an unbelievable amount of people who have interest in instruction. Rounds of golf are going to go down. They said that, and they've been right on the button. And so we started. A big part of our business plan was player development. And what we found from that was that those players come out and use the range. They buy merchandise from us. They visit our little concession stand. They're here all year. So that's how I really got interested on it. And then we steal every idea we can. I mean, I wish I had some original thoughts, but that's over my head. So we do Get Golf Ready. I just stole something from a guy down in St. Pete on the beach here about new introduction to golf. The way he did it, he had 1,400 people go through this thing. So I mean, if we can get half that number, I mean, that's a huge number. Tom Morton, I'm lucky. Tom Morton Jr., I'm lucky, from Sacramento and Hagen Oates. I mean, they're the best of the best there. I'm on a committee with him. So that's really how it got started was, it was just a great way to improve our bottom line, increase our revenues, increase our market. Now, so out of that leads to the private lessons. I'll give 1,400 private lessons a year. I do them on an hour, so it keeps me pretty busy. So between the group lessons, which a lot of my staff, we got an intern coming in this year, they do most of that instruction. I kind of get them set up and get them organized, do all the training, and then I do the majority of the private instruction.
So that's the season there. How long is your season in Kentucky?
Well, it's supposed to be longer than it has been this winter, I promise you. But the core of our season is Memorial Day to Labor Day. But about April 15th, we'll have the golf leagues that start and all that stuff. And we'll stay pretty busy till middle of October. Then it kind of slows off. But we've got a really nice indoor facility, 9 hitting mats. We've got a golf simulator from About Golf. We've got 1,000 square foot putting green. So, and again, how that came about was I went to the city after going to that meeting with the World Golf Foundation there at the merchandise show, and we had it was a very, very old building, and we had a fitness center, separate building, and I went and got an architect and said, hey, we're going to get out of this fitness business. This is not what we're about, but here's how they can retrofit this racquetball courts and turn 10 racquetball courts into 10 indoor driving range on one side. On the other side would be it would have been a 40 by 40 putting green, which is a pretty good size indoor putting green. Oh, yeah. Would have had 2 garages that would have shot out onto the range. And they say, hey, Ralph, that's a great idea. We that's a wonderful idea, but we do things bigger and better than that here. And about 3 or 4 years later, they came on some money. And then, so 4 years ago, this month, they spent about $7 million to build this new beautiful clubhouse.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it's nice. So when you ask, that was a very long answer for how long is our season. Our season's really April 15th to about maybe October 15th. But January, February, and March, we do, we've got, right now we have 3 college teams that practice inside. We have high school teams that drive an hour and a half, 2 hours to come see us. So inside we stay pretty busy with the simulator, the indoor range, and the putting green.
How many of your normal students that you work with, on a seasonal basis are taking advantage of that too?
Pretty much. We see the same people. We, create that relationship. At least we hope to or try to, and they come in and use it pretty much on inside quite a bit.
Now, I know that I've been involved in the indoor type thing for probably about 14 years now, because I'm in Pennsylvania, and I've always felt that it was important to work in the off season on your swing, and since the weather kind of prohibits that, I've always encouraged my students to do the same thing, and I think that those players have improved a lot more in a shorter period of time than they would have if they kind of just dusted those clubs off, put them away for 3 or 4 months, and didn't do anything. Do you think the same thing with your players?
Yes, and of course, we're biased within indoor facilities.
Sure.
But the other thing I think it does, to me, is we can really focus on working on their golf game, working on their golf swing, working on their golf swing, and they're not so worried about, well, the ball's doing this, and it's like, you know what, if you buy into the process, and I'm assuming that's why you paid me to help you, that you trust what we're doing, that will come. And if they can't see that, that kind of really keeps them focused on what we're doing. And then we can slide over there on the flight scope, or if it's warm enough, we can open up the garage door and use our indoor, the garage, with the hitting out onto the range, or we can use the simulator. But I think the indoor really has a place. Now, some people just come in and just, they'll stand there and swing as hard as they can, hit the ball 25 feet, and I guess they get something out of that. They burn some calories. But, so I think they get up. Now, on the inside, we also, not only we have a flight scope, we have 3 of the mats that are set up with V1. So they can record their swings and download it and email it to themselves, too. So, we try to create that learning center type feeling.
Sure. Now, when it comes to when you're teaching outside, is most of your stuff on the range, or do you do on-course lessons with any of these folks?
Yes. A couple things. We have probably 225 to 250 3 to 5-year-olds, and we make sure by the 3rd lesson that they get out on every kid's out on a golf. Some of them are out there on the 2nd one, depending on their level of play and whatnot. And then all of our instructional programs, I think every year we come back and say, hey, we did a better job of getting them out on the golf course, but we're still not sure it's enough. And then this year, I'm going to do more playing lessons, and I'm a member of the country club around here. I'll probably hook up a deal with them. Although, you always kind of feel out of place, even though I'm a member coming in and teaching somebody else's place. But, yeah, we do try to make sure they get out on the golf course quite a bit.
Yeah, I know for me, all my juniors, I run programs all summer, and what we do is in the morning we work inside, and we work on certain different type things, and then we also incorporate a lot of like contests and things like that to keep it competitive, because the kids seem to love that. And then I kind of do like a little kind of like par breakers bucks, we call them, so that if they're doing real well or they win a contest, they get paid. And it's not real money. It's it's like a fake money type thing. But if they're kind of not paying attention, or they're not really doing what they're supposed to do, then they have to pay. And then at the end of the week, they add up all their money, and then they can buy something with it. That's a prize. They seem to love that. So that's like our morning thing. And then in the afternoon, we take them out and we play 9 holes every day. And they just eat it up. They just love the heck out of it, being out on that golf course.
At the end of the day, we're teaching them to play golf, not to swing the golf club.
Yeah.
And sometimes we forget that, and we overcomplicate it. But we're there to teach them to love the game. I start off all my lessons first time I'm with somebody, whether it's whoever it is. My job is to get them to play more. Period. That's the bottom line. If I can get them to play more, touchdown. We had a success.
Yeah. So, and do you find that when they're out there and you're doing a lesson, are you working more on like course management, or are you working on shot selection as to maybe if they're in trouble or something like that? Or are you just saying, hey, just figure this out? What would you do here?
A little bit of both, but I think the biggest thing that I try to do, and maybe this is from my playing experiences, is we'll get up 30 or 40 yards in the green and in, especially for kids that can play a little bit or adults that can play some. And I'll say, okay, how would you handle this? And they'll go, well, I would do it this way. I go, well, have you ever thought about trying it this way? And they'll go, no, I never thought of that. Or, when you see this lie, you've got to be able to read the grass here, read the lie. And of course, you're never going to teach all the shots. They've got to experience it. But I think that's what my goal more is when we get outside is give them different options. Hey, try it this way. You don't have to every time you play flop it up in the air. Why not bounce it on the ground here? And it's so much easier and safer. And because especially when people are starting out within 20 yards of the green, I always tell them that the superintendent doesn't like them because they're wearing out a path walking back from when they keep blading it over the green back and forth. So, I get out there and just try to really give them different options.
Yeah, I know for me, I always was of the train of thought that the more you can keep the ball close to the ground, the more control you have over it, kind of like links type course. I guess because a lot of the courses that I play here in the Philadelphia area are set up like that. And there's always tree branches and stuff that are guarding the green, so you can't always fly it in there. You kind of have to start to manufacture different type shots. And I think that the average player and a lot of juniors think that they have to fly everything in there to try to get it to land soft and to stop, as opposed to thinking a little bit outside the box. And that's a lot of what I do in my playing lessons also.
I don't think there's any question about that. We saw, and I only saw about 2 minutes of it, Jim Furyk was on the Golf Channel last week doing playing lessons with him or whatnot. And he was talking about chipping the ball. He says, I use my putting to keep less movement. I use my putting when I'm chipping the ball. Yeah, that's what, and everybody thinks that, well, my dad bought me this sand wedge, or, I got this sand wedge, I got to use it, everything's got to go, not really. Let's get the ball on the green, give ourselves a chance. At worst, we're going to do is, get it on the green, down 2 more putts, get it down in 3. For Joe, the average golfer, that's okay. That's okay, but where they get in trouble is, that chunk, that blade, or whatever. So, again, like you said, keep it simple, keep them moving, having fun out there. Try not to let them get frustrated.
Absolutely. So, as we start to wind up here, because we're kind of moving towards the end of our time, but if people in the Kentucky area or anyone who might be coming into that area would be interested in working with you and your insight, because you've been around for quite a while. Me too. We're in that kind of school now, but and that knowledge is really just so deep that I'm sure there's so many players who don't know how to get in touch with you or don't even know that you exist, and that might find that out through this show. So how would our listeners be able to get in touch with you, and what is the best way to get in touch with you?
Probably through my website. My email address is rlandrum, and Landrum is Landrum. It's rlandrum@landrumgolf.com. We've got a nice website, landrumgolf.com. That's probably the easiest way. I mean, we're of course, there's all these new internet things coming out, and but they can send me something to V1. That's pretty easy these days. Edify and all these different places. So I'm out here. Would love to help them. We need more golfers. We need more people having fun. And I think it's one of the biggest things that's really hurt the game is we all got, us in the business, myself included, we all got kind of fat and lazy. We assumed the business was always going to be there. We forgot to service the customer. It was about the customer. And if we keep that person having fun, they're going to play more golf, and the whole industry is going to be healthier.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I think that there's a couple of reasons why it's gone down. I don't think that it's as much that sometimes the Golf Channel thinks or will say little things about instruction or things like that, but I think and the economy and things like that. But I think that it's what you just said. The more that we can just make the game fun and let people enjoy it, the more people are going to want to come back to it. Nobody likes to do anything that's not fun.
Well, at the end of the day, and I spoke to the proponent group down there at the PGA Merchandise Show about player development, and so I did a little research. Only 11% of people who play golf take golf lessons. Only 11%. So what are we doing as golf instructors not to get our message out I think we need to take a serious look at that. And then the other thing is, in the bottom line, we've got a great game. I mean, we've got a great game. We don't sell the health benefits of the game enough. How many calories and stuff you burn, and to be able to be out with friends on my Facebook, which is at Ralph Landrum. I try to find these little articles about. Last week I think I had one out about what a great way it is to do business on a golf course and the healthy benefits and why women should play more. I just completed this LPGA Teaching Her program that they came out with. And again, I don't think we're doing enough to make it fun for everybody, to treat everybody, make them feel welcome when they come in. And when we get over that, this thing's going to turn around, because the bottom line is we got a great game.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, well, of course, a little bias here, but I always felt that it was the greatest game that there is, just because of how it mirrors things in life, and then also the social aspects of it. You actually have time to be social with other people while you're playing. It's kind of tough to be social with somebody when you're running up and down a basketball court, or when you're playing baseball, and you really can't be social. But in golf, you can really be social and carry on a conversation throughout the whole day, which is nice.
My two boys played, and they played a lower Division One at a college level, but they're 29 and 27 now. But when they come in town, or when we're out of town, we'll play golf most all the time, weather permitting. They've been, when I've gone over to try to qualify for the British Senior Open, they've gone with me. And, so if they're caddying or they're caddying for me, or if we're playing together, that's tough to match that social, that interaction where, they're going to be with me. If we just play 9 holes, it's 2 hours, by the time we get there, it's 2.5, or wherever we're going, or maybe it's 5 hours time we have an adult beverage or something after we get done playing, and the game brings that to you. And not only from that standpoint, but it also does from a business standpoint. And then one other thing, if we get out there and walk and do the things, we're supposed to do, from a health standpoint, it's pretty good news.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Ralph, thanks so much for taking the time out. I know you're a very busy gentleman. Congratulations on your latest achievements, and much luck to you always, and thanks again. And as we say here on Breaking Par, try to keep it in the short grass.
Well, that's been a challenge here the last 10 years or so. But hey, you know what? Thanks. Let's keep spreading the word about what a good game we are, and we'll get more people playing. So I appreciate the opportunity.
My pleasure. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
All righty.